My mobile game development experience. Today's video will be a little bit different because I will be sharing my personal experience and providing tips on developing a product. As the title says, the product I will be talking about will be a mobile game. The goal of this video isn't to give you in-depth step-by-step instructions on how to develop a mobile game, but to give you some tips on general product and service development processes that you can use when taking on a new project. I'd also like to point out that some principles we're going to discuss you can apply in other areas of your life. So let's dive in. Tip number 1. Stop wishing for things and start doing. A typical mindset is that you should know what you're doing before you actually do it. But this is not how you advance in life. You advance by doing what you don't know. I started with very little knowledge about mobile game development processes, and of course, I stepped in many traps along the way. But that's okay, because it is a part of the learning process, and don't be afraid to fail over and over again. Yes, it is beneficial if you know what to do, and yes, my mistakes costed me a lot of time and money. But I don't worry about it, because the knowledge I gained during the process of development is priceless. There's also plenty you can do to minimize the risk of an unsuccessful outcome. First, you can talk to the people who have done this before and learn from them. Go to a conference or seminar or join a local meetup group, or even look up on YouTube where people share their experience just like I do in this video. Second, read some books on the subject. I read a couple of books while developing my game. For example, Free to Play by Will Luton and The Art of Game Design by Jesse Schell. Third, follow the industry you are in. The almighty internet is almost accessible to everyone today. Use it to find few leading industry news sites to follow on what is happening. Do not spend too much time on it because you will get lost in information that you don't need. Tip number 2. Research market before development. Once you've started, it's important to start with research. I know it is not the most interesting part of the project, but it is the most important thing at this stage. Most people would like to jump straight into the development action, including myself, to instantly produce results and see some progress. Start with planning. Prepare the plan with project stages, but don't go too much into the details. It could look like this. 1. Research. 2. Prototyping. 3. Development. 4. Beta testing. 5. Final changes, if needed after the beta test. 6. Launch. This is a very rough draft, but in big steps, this is how my game development plan looked like. Then each of these sections can be broken down into more specific tasks. Here's what I would research today if I wanted to develop a new mobile game. A. Which marketplace to approach? iOS App Store, Google Play Store, Amazon App Store, or others. B. What platform to use for game development? Cocos 2DX, Unity, or others. C. What game genre to develop? What is trending or which genre you feel most passionate to develop? D. What business model to use? Is it going to be a premium game or a free-to-play game? E. Define your target audience. Understand who will be your customers. F. Check the cash flow to see if I have enough resources to develop the product. The list can go on, but these are the areas I would research before jumping into the development. I'm saying it because this was one of the big mistakes I made. When I developed my first title, I hardly did any research, and it costed me a lot of time and money later in the development to fix it, because I hadn't researched these things. And not only it costed me extra during development, but also that was one of the main reasons why the game didn't sell very well after it had been developed. Tip number 3. Online team versus office team. Unless it is something small and you can handle it all by yourself, you will need a team to develop anything. In the past, the most common practice for businesses was to have an office team handle all types of work to sustain the business. Each worker performs their duties from product development to the customer support. But over the last few years, things have changed and businesses are outsourcing a lot of stuff, and it's easy to sustain an online team. I developed this particular product by outsourcing 100% of the development. I had no office, no full-time workers, but I still got the job done. It was a great experience to work with passionate freelancers. From one side, it is great to have an online team. No office costs, you can use money to pay wages. No wasted development costs, usually you would pay freelancers for completed tasks. No long-term relationship. If the project doesn't work out, everyone goes their own way. So far so good, but sometimes it is not good all of the time. During the mobile game development process, I faced some of the downsides of developing products or services with an online team. I would like to share them with you so you can keep them in mind if you decide to develop a product or service with an online team in the future. 1. Communication. It is not the same as to be in the office and manage a team by giving instant tasks. If you're managing an online team, most of the communication will happen via email, Skype, phone, or other online documents. This will make easy things not easy. Let's say the game designer is working today from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and he has prepared documentation for the system in a mobile game. But the programmer is working today from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The programmer's job is to develop the system based on the game designer's documentation. If the programmer doesn't have any questions, then it's fine. But if he has questions, then it's a bit of a pain. These types of things happen quite often when things need to be clarified and confirmed. So if the programmer in this situation has a question about the system, he can try to contact the game designer to clarify his query. But if it's not possible, he'll have to do something else today and wait for the game designer's response later. As you can see in this example, different working times will affect communication and therefore team efficiency as well. My recommendation here would be to develop a good internal team relationship so team members feel free and open to communicate between themselves. I created a team Skype chat room where all team members were asked to report any issues regarding the game development process. With this level of communication, everyone would be informed about any issues. 2. Decision-making. Similar to communication issues, decision-making will be affected because of the exact same thing, different working times. To make decisions during the game development process, I organized weekly meetings via Skype with my staff every Sunday at 9 p.m. It took about 15 minutes every Sunday, and we resolved all issues and made decisions for the following week. 3. Cooperation. When you hire freelancers for your project, you don't really know the person. I've hired some really talented people, and some people with who I had to stop cooperating before our agreement was finished. I would suggest to invite the person to a Skype video call to talk to the person and based on that make further decisions. Tip number 4. Start small and go through the process. If you're starting to work on a new project and you're not experienced in this field, I'd recommend to start small and experience the whole process. Now looking back at myself, I feel like I took on too much. It's like if you have started boxing for the first time, but instead of fighting a beginner boxer, you challenge a champion. Not a good idea. The project was too big, and my experience was too little. If I had a chance to start the mobile game development again, I would start by developing a simpler type of game in a shorter period of time. Then I would use my acquired knowledge to increase complexity. This way you'll experience the whole development process and evaluate time, resources, and expertise needed for a bigger project. I know that this approach might not apply to all projects, but for the majority of the projects it can be done. You can call it experimentation or prototyping, before putting all your money on the line. This will only help you to prevent wasting extra time and money. So start small and then make it big. Tip number 5, forever developing. During game development, my team and I got stuck in the everlasting development loop. It looked like the following: develop documentation, approve it, implement it in the game, play, test it, and then at the next meeting, we would discuss it and decide the next step. Usually one system would require another system, and so on. We were stuck in this loop for a good few months before I came up with a decision to define the final product and leave all new system ideas in backlog. I feel there were two main issues: no clear vision about the product, no deadline for product launch. As I was managing the project, I think it was my responsibility to make sure that these two things are clear and followed. Soon after realizing the issues, I gathered the team together and we came up with an action plan. We decided about the complete set of features and systems for the game and agreed on a reasonable game launch date. After this move, our productivity increased and we were able to stick with our agreed terms with minor changes. I also think the fact that I got the whole team involved in decision making instead of dictating new things got them really involved in the whole process. I hope you guys will find these tips useful when approaching your new or existing projects. If you have any questions about areas of life where you're struggling or want to make improvements, please tell me in the comments below or write to me at Facebook or Twitter, and I'll make a video about how best to approach it.